Hi, and welcome to this video on simplifying rational polynomial functions. Remember, a rational expression is a ratio of polynomial expressions, and dividing by zero is undefined. So it is really important to note that the denominator of the ratio of polynomials must never equal zero. The values of x that will result in a zero in the denominator are called excluded values, or domain restrictions. These values must never be used in the expression. The notation used to represent a rational function f of x is f of x is equal to p of x divided by g of x, where p of x and g of x are polynomials and g of x does not equal zero. In order to simplify a rational expression, the polynomials of the numerator and the denominator must be factored if possible, and the domain restrictions are then determined. The final step is to cancel out like factors from the numerator and denominator because they divide to 1. Let's look at a few examples to put this process into action. We're going to look at x squared minus 8x plus 15 over x squared minus 9. This example shows a rational expression that has a trinomial in the numerator and a binomial in the denominator. Now let's walk through simplifying this expression. First, let's factor the polynomials. So we get x minus 3 times x minus 5 over x minus 3 times x plus 3. Second, determine the domain restrictions from the factored denominator. The factor x minus 3 would equal 0 if x equals 3, and the factor x plus 3 would equal 0 if x equals negative 3. So if either of these factors equals 0, then the denominator would equal 0. Therefore, the domain restrictions are x equals 3 and x equals negative 3. And lastly, the factor x minus 3 is in both the numerator and the denominator. Dividing x minus 3 by itself results in 1, so these factors can be canceled out of the expression. Now we have the simplified rational expression x minus 5 over x plus 3. With domain restrictions of 3 and negative 3. Let's go through these same steps in another example. Now we're going to look at x squared plus 10x plus 25 over x squared plus 2x minus 15. First, we're going to factor the polynomials. X plus 5 times x plus 5 over x plus 5 times x minus 3. Then we're going to determine the domain restrictions from the factored denominator. The factor x plus 5 would equal 0 if x equals negative 5, and the factor x minus 3 would equal 0 if x equals 3. If either of these factors equals 0, then the denominator would equal 0. Therefore, the domain restrictions are x equals negative 5 and x equals 3. And lastly, the factor x plus 5 is in both the numerator and the denominator, so these factors cancel out of the rational expression. This leaves us with the simplified expression of x plus 5 over x minus 3. With domain restrictions of negative 5 and 3. The more you practice, the easier this process becomes. It is very important to note that identifying the domain restrictions in the denominator must be done immediately after factoring, because the factors that are common cancel out in step 3. You won't be able to identify the restrictions if the factors have been canceled out. Now, before we go, let's look at some true or false questions to test your knowledge. Feel free to pause the video to give yourself more time. Number 1, true or false? The domain restrictions of this rational expression x equals 4 and x equals negative 2? The answer is true. Domain restrictions are determined by the factored denominator. So let's take a look at that real quick. We have the denominator x squared minus 2x minus 8. If we factor this, we get x minus 4 times x plus 2. The x values that would make these factors equal 0 are x equals 4 and x equals negative 2. Number 2, true or false? The rational expression 3x squared plus 9x minus 12 over x squared minus 1 simplifies to 3 times x plus 4 all over x plus 1 with domain restrictions of x equals negative 4. The correct answer is false. The expression is simplified correctly, but the domain restrictions are determined by the factored denominator. So once again, let's take a look at this. We have x squared minus 1, which when you factor it, gives you x plus 1 times x minus 1. The correct domain restrictions are therefore x equals 1 and x equals negative 1. I hope this review was helpful. Thanks for watching and happy studying.